Welcome to Law Flip. It's an unfiltered conversation about law, life. We got Carl Jacob in the building and everything in between. So today we speak to an LA icon. It's Carl Jacob Emrani. So LA is basically the beach, it's traffic, and a bunch of Carl Jacob advertisement billboards. Jacob, you're great at marketing, you're great at advertising. Why should people listen to this episode of Law Flip?
Hopefully after listening to this episode, you'll get a chance to get to know who I really am. You'll find some stuff that's interesting, some stuff that maybe not be as interesting, but ultimately, as long as you walk away enjoying this episode, then, we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish.
Amazing. Okay, also, I want to make an announcement. I've been working on a legal app, also called Law Flip, and it helps lawyers more easily refer business to each other and do business with each other. We're about to do an alpha test, and we need lawyers to try it out for free. So if you're interested, email me at benji@lawflip.com, or you could DM me. Also, for any legal questions, call 1-833-LAW-FLIP. Let's get into the episode.
Law flip, objection, your honor. Turn the game upside down. Law flip, objection, your honor. Turn the game upside down.
I'm so excited to have Jacob on. I mean, he's an LA icon. We got to have him on. Jacob, how does it feel to be an LA Persian superstar?
I don't consider myself a superstar.
Yes, you do, Jacob.
I definitely consider myself an LA Persian attorney. There's no question about that, but I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So honestly, are you enjoying life right now? I mean, you're flying high. You got billboards everywhere. You're practicing law. You got a big operation. Are you enjoying life?
I am. I think anytime you have a vision for something you want to do, you work very hard at it. You don't really listen to the noise around, and you basically concentrate on what you're trying to achieve, and you begin to see your hard work at least be able to pay off, or at least show that it's paying off. It's always very enjoyable.
Yeah, and you have this new campaign. I see, like, real person, real lawyer. What's behind the campaign?
Yeah, so it's interesting because a lot of times when somebody sees me in the streets, they come up and they say hello, or a lot of my employees come up and say, hey, my friends ask me, do you ever see him? Is he ever there? Do you ever get a chance to talk to him? And, I think the way people envision you and who you really are in life as a whole is always different.
Of course.
Right? That's why they always say everybody's got a story. If you really put the time to actually in the street, if you're ever walking and someone's standing next to you, you just, hey, where are you from? What's going on? They tell you the story. You really get to understand that everybody's got their own story, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, it's important for people to understand that, I'm not just the guy on the billboard. I'm not just the guy, in the commercials, but I come to work early every day. I leave 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock at night every night. Work every day in the office, talk to my clients. I'm very involved with, a lot of the cases that are in the office. And I felt like it was important because to a lot of people, they don't really think that you're a real person because they see you in TV, right? They don't think you're a real attorney because they think, how does he have time to practice law?
People even say that to me. I literally film like a couple hours a month, and they're like, wait, so that's your full-time thing, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's my full-time. That's how I survive in LA. It's my full-time thing. But yeah, I get that all the time. So what is a day, a week in a life for you?
So, obviously I'm very family oriented.
Mm-hmm. You got like 4 kids?
I have 4 kids. Yes.
Yeah.
So
born and raised in LA, right?
My kids are, not myself. I came to the States when I was 9 years old.
Okay.
Obviously had to flee the country, under major duress. My dad in Iran had been put into it was in jail, just based on, the Jewish religion and also stature. So, as soon as he came out of prison, we basically fled the country. That's a 2-hour thing on its own, how we fled through the country and went through Turkey and got on horses.
I hadn't heard people like being jailed.
Oh yeah. My dad was. And, we went through a lot to get out of the country. And then finally, when we landed, here, in the States and in LA, I was 9 years old. So went to school, in Beverly Hills. My dad's biggest thing was, we can live in a 1-bedroom apartment, but as long as I can get the kids somewhere that gives you the best education, that's more important.
Yeah.
So, went to Beverly Hills High School. Then after that, went to USC for undergrad. Went to Southwestern Law School, and basically after Southwestern, Law was not really a priority for me just because I was always involved in businesses and doing different things, but I always loved the law. Always loved it.
And by the way, I really appreciate this is, I think, your first podcast you've come on. So I really appreciate it.
Yes.
With all the marketing you do, it's like shocking almost, but I appreciate it. Big honor. And shout out to your brother, John.
Appreciate it.
So, so a week in a life.
Yeah, so week in a life is, I'm up really early, try to get up around 5:30, 6 in the morning, try to get my exercise in, maybe go for a run, go for a walk. By the time I get back, kids are up, get the kids ready, get them to school. Obviously, my wife's very helpful and she does a lot of it, but whenever I get a chance to get the kids to school, that's a priority.
Yeah.
Get them to school, get to the office. Usually we have a meeting in the morning. All the heads of the different departments have to report back to me in terms of what's going on. I'm personally involved in every single settlement that goes on in our litigation department. So we have a lot of cases that are actually in litigation. So I go through those cases. I talk to the attorneys. We strategize. We talk about what's going on. We have a lot of different departments in our firm. So I always like to make sure that not only do I, work with the department heads, but I like to work with every single one of our employees one-on-one, because ultimately at the end of the day, when a client calls, they do really ask for me.
Yeah.
So when I'm on the phone with them, I have to know the case.
How many employees?
We have about 95.
Wow, amazing. And how many attorneys?
We have 13.
Incredible, man. Just incredible work. Okay.
Thank you.
You are the face of legal billboard advertising, spending what is likely, you probably won't talk about it, but likely millions of dollars a month.
A lot.
I want to give you credit for the upside down billboard.
I appreciate that.
What was the thought process and how much of a risk did you view it as?
Yeah, everything you do is a risk,
Yeah.
right? You do a risk-benefit analysis on everything. In terms of billboards, when you're driving around very often, you're always seeing something and they all begin to look the same. The concept behind the upside-down billboards is because I was having a conversation with one of our clients and, she just couldn't stop telling me how her life has been turned upside down ever since the accident. And on that day, I spoke to 3 or 4 other clients, and it seemed like everybody kept saying how their life's been turned upside down. So the concept really behind it was that when you are involved in an accident, people who've never been involved in an accident just don't understand. They just don't understand what you go through. And the concept was basically when you're involved in an accident, your life is turned upside down. So our billboards are upside down. And, if you call us, we help you flip your life right side up.
I love it.
And basically, that was a thought behind it.
Many object to billboards. They think it's unethical. They think it's like, they just think they don't like it. They think it's like the worst part of society. I saw somebody post the other day, like it's literally like the worst part of society. I don't object to billboards at all. I think that my thought is, well, before I get to like my thought on it, what's the case? Make the case for why billboards are good for people.
Right. So number one, I think anything you do in good taste, is positive. Okay. I think sometimes people always look at the negative part of everything. So when it comes to my own advertising, I'm hands-on on every little thing that goes on. I mean, literally, if I don't like the shade on something, if I don't like the way somebody says a word, I kick it. And in my opinion, I always try to put out something out there that is something that I can be proud of. So with that being said, I think the purpose for billboards is for certain communities that really don't have an opportunity or don't have access to attorneys. I think when you put up billboards, especially when everybody gets an opportunity to look at it, you don't have to pay for it. It's free. Everybody looks at it. I think you not only can you educate people who may not have the same opportunities, but you give them the same opportunity as somebody who may be in a different, wealth status, or maybe have access to more attorneys. And I think, for a lot of people who may be in our industry, they have access to attorneys. So to them, they don't understand. But when you really talk to a client who's afraid of attorneys, thinks that every time they pick up the phone to talk to a client, talk to an attorney, they may be getting screwed, or they may be overcharged. When they actually have an opportunity to call an attorney who they see on a billboard or may see in a commercial, that they could actually talk to that attorney one-on-one, the same guy who was on the commercial, they're sitting across from them. It gives them a real confidence for the legal industry.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I have no like moral or ethical objection. My thing with billboards has always been like a business objection, being concerned that it's so hard to track, right? Because like we spend money on pay-per-click or Facebook leads. You know, John Smith, he came from this thing. Like, how do you track, if at all? Or is it is it basically like, hey, we spend this much and we're also seeing this much revenue. We can't really explain how we got a lot of these like leads other than the billboard and the notoriety. So it works.
Yeah, so it's the big picture,
Yeah.
right? If you're only doing one of anything, you may be able to track it. But when you're doing everything, then you can't really track one item.
Right.
Maybe some people can, and they're geniuses. I haven't been able to.
No, but that's helpful to know that it doesn't need to be perfect. You basically are just looking at the whole picture.
You have to, correct. You have
Yeah.
to look at the big vision, and you have to hope that ultimately at the end of the day, the big vision makes sense.
But financially, like I just, to me, it seems because you're spending so much and because there's such a gap in settlements, right? So I do employment and personal injury. These cases take a year, 2 years, 5 years.
5,
right?
correct.
Right? So you're spending millions of dollars in year 1 and year 2, year 3. There's a lag. I guess eventually the argument is it catches up. at some point.
Right. So eventually, I mean, I was told years ago that if you're ever going to go into branding yourself, you have to stay consistent to what you do for 10 to 15 years. So when I started, I was never expecting my first or second or third year to be really giving me a return on investments. And basically, it was the long run. It was a long-term outlook on it. So I think you're absolutely correct. I think we are in a very tough business, right? Because if we were attorneys who would get paid every time somebody walks through our door, every time you put a half an hour or an hour, you can, go ahead and charge them. You can actually see, okay, it's like, I always talk about Langers, who's a good friend of mine. Okay.
One of the great pastrami sandwiches
Awesome.
of all time.
Awesome. But he's also a great guy and, a good friend. And he used to always advertise. And he used to say, I advertise at 11 o'clock because by 11 to 11:30, people are hungry. If they hear my advertising, they'll be there by 12:30, and he would track it, right? So his business you can track. Our business, we can't.
Right.
He would get paid.
But with the branding and marketing, you can't track it.
Correct.
But generally, it's hard to track.
Correct. It's harder to track.
Yeah.
But for them, it's a little different.
Yeah. So then you talked a little bit about how there's always people that, will disagree with some aspect of what you do. Obviously, from my perspective, I look at what you're doing and I view you as a successful business guy that's taking risk, right? But not everybody is in that spot, and there's haters, so to speak. Where do you see the biggest misunderstanding?
I think the biggest misunderstanding is many people think that if you're active in advertising, you can't be active in the practice of law.
Right.
And I think that's 100% wrong. I think it's a personal choice. I have a lot of friends who actually do a lot of advertising, and they do come at 10 o'clock and they leave at 1,
right.
And they have other people running their practice.
Sure.
That's not what I do. I am very hands-on with what I do, sometimes maybe too hands-on. And, when we're too hands-on because, we want to make sure that final product or that final settlement is exactly how you feel it should be. So we put more stress in ourselves. We put more stress in our own lives. I'm sure you're the same. But in the big picture, I don't believe that it's one thing or another. I think when we were chatting, you're saying, well, you can manage, but then you can't do the other thing. No, I don't think that that's accurate. I think you can have a nice balance between the two. The same way you should have a nice balance between work, and home.
100%.
It can't be one or the other. So
No, I completely agree. I think that for a combination of reasons, lawyers, like we have this, I don't know if it's an insecurity or this posturing that we have to do things a certain way. You have to be the person that does the intake all the way through closing argument. And I just always talk about a supermarket. We would never criticize a CEO of a supermarket for not sweeping the floors but you want to be involved in the major decisions. But what is it? What is it about the legal profession or professional jobs in general, accounting or lawyers, that puts this focus on, is he really doing all the work, or is it there are people doing it for them?
Right. So I think there's this, understanding that unless you do the same thing, that's put into a box, you can't be successful. And I actually think that because we're contingency attorneys, we have control over how we want to do things. Mm-hmm. The one thing I never wanted to do is be an hourly attorney. Why? Because every moment of what I do has to be under the control of my client. Right now, I take the risks.
Yep.
If I lose, I lose. The client walks away, doesn't pay a penny.
Yep.
If I win, then we get compensated.
Yeah.
And I think that is a wonderful thing about contingency attorneys.
It's the greatest. I did hourly work for a very long time. it pains me to even think about doing that. It's
Right.
it's just really tough. So the sponsorship deals, like you obviously did the famous LA Braun, right, billboards.
Correct.
And you have these sponsorships with the Lakers, with the LA Football Club. Why not the Dodgers?
So great question. Great question.
expensive?
No, I mean, great question. Number one, I'll tell you, when I did the, LA Braun billboards, I had zero connection with the Lakers. Okay. That was basically me as a fan, or maybe as a fanatic, that I really, really felt like the Lakers were not playing well. We had a chance to bring LeBron James, and I decided to put my money behind, my passion. And we had fun with it. It was great that LeBron himself actually saw the billboards. He commented, on it
That
in
must
the
have been
media.
exciting.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
It was great for me. My kids are all sports fans. I'm a sport fanatic. I'm a true sports fanatic.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, the sponsorships, my true love is the Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally wake up every morning.
You can't be a Persian in LA and not get to your true love.
That's right, and that's something to be proud of. So Lakers are my passion, and really my bucket list was my connection with the Lakers.
What you talked about, like being a family man and Lakers, like what motivates you every day? Obviously, like we're all out here. It's expensive to live in LA. Money's a big motivating factor. What motivates you every single day other than the obvious finances?
So number one, what motivates me, I challenge myself every day. I challenge myself to never get comfortable. That's really important for me. Every day I wake up, I want to have a challenge in front of me. I want to have something to shoot for. And for me, really, it's to take care of my family. I want my kids to look and see how hard their dad works, to understand that, we may have luxuries, but that doesn't just come in a very simple manner. In today's world, we all go out of our way, we all who have kids go out of our way to give our kids everything. And sometimes the kids really don't understand what it takes to live the type of life that we all live.
How do we do it though? Because like we're in LA. It's almost this is like the question of everywhere I go, every social event, everybody I talk to, it's money, material. It's too much part of our life, but then we love it. We love the material things. How the hell do we balance it?
So I tell you, in my opinion, I grew up in a family where my parents were very involved in my life. I had very strict parents. My father still questions me on some of the things I do. And, I
Me
feel
too.
like, so what it's like.
Yeah.
And I feel like how we grow our families or grow our kids is about what happens within the four corners of your home.
Yeah.
Everything comes from the house. And of course it becomes more difficult, but if you have certain vision for how you want your kids to be brought up, you may not be able to achieve it 100%, but even if you achieve it 70%, 80%, then you've done a lot better than not trying at all. And it's not easy, with internet and everything and Instagram and everybody looking at these fantasy lives. No matter what you do, there's always something that maybe your kids will look at that may look more impressive. But if you're going to live your life trying to compare yourself to others or trying to follow others, then you're not living your own life. You're living somebody else's life.
When it comes to your business, what's your main focus? Like, what's like the vision board?
So the vision board is number one. I always want to make sure that the general public's vision of what attorneys are and who they are continues to become more positive. Especially in our industry, the personal injury industry does not have the greatest, greatest reputation.
They don't? Okay.
So I feel like every day that's part of my vision. Internally, I always want to be able to improve customer service to clients, being able to be there for the clients. It's interesting. I equate a lot of real life experiences to how I run my life and my practice. Okay. When you go to a doctor and God forbid you have a medical issue, you want a doctor who's going to have great bedside manners, correct? You want them to sit there, talk to you, explain it to you. You don't want somebody who walks in, sees you for 2 minutes, says you have this, and then walk out, right? So I always talk to my staff about that. I always tell them that when somebody calls you, they're in a state of distress. You need to give them the attention. And that's one of the reasons that anybody who ever calls my office and wants to talk to me, I talk to them. Anybody who wants to meet with me, I will personally meet with them. 15 minutes or 2 hours, it doesn't make a difference. So I think customer service, being able to deliver the best product for people who trust you, those are things that every day I try to work on.
If you're a young hustling attorney, you hate doing hourly work like almost everybody does, and you want to start your own firm, and you don't have a ton of resources, any advice for someone in that position?
Absolutely. Connect yourself with a mentor. That's one thing I didn't have. When I started doing everything, I paid the price and I learned as I went. I think connecting with a mentor who actually wants what's best for you, somebody who's willing to be there for you, is one of the greatest things you can have in this industry.
I actually I've been practicing for quite a while, and I've been looking for a mentor that's not like family, not a close friend, and I actually this guy just offered to basically mentor me, and it was really amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's amazing that it's in this world. It's actually surprising when you really feel like there's nothing that they're really looking for in return. So it's it was really nice. So okay, a couple just fun little things. You're Persian. Clearly, anybody who watches anything that I do knows I have a little bit of a Persian obsession. I have a half Persian girlfriend. I got just a lot of Persian guests.
Yeah, you're into it.
I'm into it. The Sefi boy can still play with the people.
I love it.
What is the best Persian food in LA? It's not homemade.
I love Rafi kebab.
Ooh.
I'm a big fan.
Okay.
And going from where I live to go to Rafi kebab is usually a 30-35 minute drive.
Well worth it.
And my wife always says there's so many other restaurants that are so much closer.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the food there is just amazing.
What's the best Persian dish?
If you like meat, then obviously, kebab is, number one. If you like chicken, the chicken kebab. If you're into stews, one of my favorite, it's a very unique one. It's called fesencun.
It's greatest thing ever. It's my number one stew. It's a little too, it's like candy, so you can only do so much of it, but it's incredible. Okay, but to the bigger topic of Persian stuff, we talked a little bit about status and, sort of looking at other people, compare and despair. Do you think that there's any challenge in the Persian community with a little bit too much of it's almost impossible to feel like you're accomplishing anything unless you're absolutely annihilating it?
I don't. And I'll tell you why. I grew up in it.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up when I was in Iran in it. I moved here. We had to start from scratch, leaving, a house where you had so many people that helped you, and you had, maids and you had helpers. To have to come to the United States and move into a 1-bedroom house where my dad had to start a business from scratch. He had to work in the warehouse, his own warehouse, and had to build everything. I've seen what it's like to have it, to lose it, and then work really hard for many years to gain it back. Mm-hmm. So I always feel like I have, many friends who as well, who are in a different level and are killing it. And I always feel like you always have to look at your own accomplishments and hope that you're doing what you're doing. Life's too short, man.
Yeah.
If you want to sit around always looking at what somebody else's does, you're always chasing. And, of course, it's hard not to look at people's accomplishments, but I'm proud of other people who are accomplished.
Yeah, me too.
I'm happy when I see somebody else accomplish. I'm not one of those people who hates on people just because they're successful. And I feel like that brings a lot more satisfaction to you when you see people around you are being successful.
I couldn't agree more.
This is the legal tip of the month, sponsored by the power hitters at Benowitz Law Corporation. Employees, keep receipts. Whenever you think something might be important, whether you complained about something, you said something in an email, you submitted information about your pay, you got copies of your information regarding pay. Save copies. You have smartphones. They are total data repositories. If you ever get into a dispute with your employer, you'll be really happy you kept these copies, because it's a lot easier for you to have evidence from yourself than having to get it from them.
So this is brought to you by Smith Law. It's an employment, personal injury, and class action law firm. So if you were forced to quit, you still may have a claim for wrongful termination.
Benji. What? There's some crazy person yelling your name outside.
Benji, come on, question! You want to represent somebody like
Jacob,
me?
sorry, we need to take a break real quick. I'll be right back. 1 second, Jacob.
Mr. Benji, Mr. Social Media, huh? Benji!
Okay, first of all, I need you to chill.
If I quit, tell me how that That's a wrongful termination. Tell me.
It's called constructive discharge, Benji.
What's that?
It's where your employer makes your job so intolerable that you're forced to quit.
But what qualifies as intolerable working conditions?
Many things qualify, such as badgering, harassment, discrimination. Why don't you give us a call? We'll talk about it.
Huh?
Call us.
Huh? No, you call me.
No, you call me.
Call
No,
me.
you call
No,
me,
you call
buddy.
me.
No, you call me.
Come on, Benji.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do. I can't call you. You gotta call me.
Tell me.
All right? I gotta go back to shooting.
Come on, Benji.
Everyone, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay, Jacob, where can we find you on social media? I think we know how to call you. And any parting words?
I'm on Instagram at call.jacob, and I'm on Facebook at, Jacob Emrani. First of all, I just want to say thank you for actually having, such a very comfortable area for us to be able to chat. As I said, when I first saw you, I think you're a natural in what you do, and you make it very easy for people to come on your show. You said this was my first podcast. It was, because I really look at who I'm talking to and how comfortable it is to really be about us rather than everything that's around us. I just wanted to say, this was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Okay, any parting words for the lawyers and people listening? Any parting words?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing here is don't look at other people. Look at yourself. When people tell you you can't do it, just completely block out the noise. It's all about you. It's all about what you want to achieve. Look at your own achievements and continue to push forward. Try to get yourself a mentor, somebody that can help you. If you have any questions, if I can help in any way, I'm very easily reachable. My email is jacob@calljacob.com. I'll be more than happy to be there to help anybody who has questions.
By the way, call Jacob. It's brilliant. It's just so annoying that I don't have that, but it's amazing. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you with that. So thank you so much, and we will see you next month, Law Flip.
Law flip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down. Law flip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down.
Connect with us on Instagram. We're at Law Flip. Law Flip is produced by Blue Crescent Media. You can learn more about BCM at bluecrescentmedia.com. Our intro music is provided by Penn Practice, and our Law Flip identity was created by Garrett Whiston and Travis Nagel. And lastly, this podcast is made available by Smith & Benowitz for educational and entertainment purposes only. By listening to this podcast, you understand that no attorney-client relationship is being formed between you and Smith & Benowitz or any of its attorneys. This podcast should not be used as a substitute for competent legal advice from a licensed professional attorney in your state. To the extent this podcast may be considered an advertisement, Benjamin Smith is the attorney responsible for this advertisement. Thank you.
Upside down.